and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is December 2nd, and today we have two short news stories for you. They're short, but really, really interesting. The first is entitled, UK Farm Offers Cow Cuddles to Cope with Climate Woes. Boy, you talk about alliteration.
I was thinking,
cuddles, cope, climate.
I love all those hard C's in there. They just sound so good together.
And here is our first story. Facing relentless flooding and rising expenses, Dumble Farm in England has stopped selling milk and started an unexpected but therapeutic venture, cow cuddles. In 2022, the owners sold most of their dairy cows and began letting visitors spend time brushing, petting, and even hugging specially trained Highland cows for £95 per session.
This unusual shift reflects the rise of the so-called healing economy, a sector where animal-assisted experiences are marketed as emotional remedies for stress and burnout. While dogs and cats remain the most common therapy animals, cows are gaining popularity for their calm nature.
At Dumble Farm, only cows that are genuinely comfortable with human contact are selected. According to the owners, the cows have been gently trained for these sessions and seem to enjoy the interaction. To ensure the animal's well-being, all sessions are suspended during extreme heat. Let's go back to the beginning. Our title again with all that alliteration, UK Farm offers cow cuddles to cope with climate woes. UK is, of course, United Kingdom, so we don't as often say England because the UK includes more than that. There's a whole explanation online if you want to go look for it, but basically it also includes Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, plus England. So a UK farm, it does happen to be in England, though. Offers, that means they have something available for people to come and then take part in. Cow cuddles. Now, that's not an established noun, but we can figure it out. Cows are involved, and you go hug them. You cuddle with them. To cope with, that means to deal with. Climate woes. Why does it involve climate? Because now it's getting really too hot for some kind of agricultural activities like raising cows, having enough fresh grass for them to eat. A lot of things are no longer working because it's too hot. The cows do not like so much heat. Woes are things that cause you worry and troubles. So that's what our title is all about. UK Farm offers cow cuddles to cope with climate woes. Our first sentence, facing relentless flooding and rising expenses, Dumble Farm in England has stopped selling milk and started an unexpected but therapeutic venture, cow cuddles. And this is kind of explaining what the title tells us a little about, but doesn't tell us in detail. So first of all, with climate change, there is a lot more flooding in England now, and also expenses keep going up. So they have to figure out how to deal with this. They were originally a dairy farm. They had cows. They milked the cows, sold the milk. I was going to say they sold the milk. They sold the milk, and that's how they made their profit. But now they are not able to keep cows as easily. It's just too hot, and they've got flooding. So they don't sell milk anymore. They're doing something different. They sold most of the cows, but they saved some of them, and they are providing them to the public who will pay for it to cuddle with the cows.
So pay attention to our word flooding here. It's a word I hear said incorrectly all the time because of that double O. And one strategy I always remind people with is don't forget your rhyming words. Now, a very simple word that rhymes with flood that nobody ever says wrong is mud. And so anytime I ever say the word flood in my classroom, and it comes up now and then, I always say mud flood. Just to reestablish that, hey, don't forget that a rhyming word will really anchor your pronunciation accurately, and you're less likely to make that extremely common mistake of saying flooding. So mud, flood.
And another word that rhymes with it and is also spelled about the same is blood. Blood, flood. They both start with a consonant plus L and then O-O, blood, flood.
Let's take a look at our next word here, therapeutic. And this is a nice Greek word that actually just means to serve. Therapeutic in our sentence here means like it's a thing to help you feel better, especially with some kind of medical sense. But really, the original Greek word was to serve. And this kind of makes sense if you think about being in a hospital and being sick and the people there serving you, a lot like a servant helps you in your home. And cuddle, don't forget, is a nice long hug. And I love cuddling with my cats, but probably more accurately, they really love cuddling with me. There will be times I'm trying to get things done and they're like, oh, Daddy, it's time. Come on, sit down.
You're not paying attention to me. I'm here. And the noun for therapeutic is?
Therapy.
Watch out for the stress. Therapy, stress is on the first syllable. Therapeutic, the stress is on the second to the last syllable. Next sentence, in 2022, the owners sold most of their dairy cows and began letting visitors spend time brushing, petting, and even hugging specially trained Highland cows for 95 pounds per session.
Okay, what was your main takeaway from that sentence?
First of all, I looked at it looks kind of pricey, but I later found out why it costs that much.
All right, please tell me more about that because I read this sentence as brushing, petting, and even hugging specially trained Highland cows for 95 pounds a session.
So you reacted in the same way as
yes,
I did.
eye-popping price.
Yes, but first of all, think that they are now foregoing all the profits from their dairy farm.
Yes.
They're no longer making money selling milk, and people probably bought a lot of milk, and they have to somehow replace that. But they are giving you your money's worth. First of all, each session lasts 3.5 hours. That's a long time.
That's a lot of cuddling.
Right. And they have a bunch of retired cows that no longer gave milk. They also have goats there. And included in this 3.5 hours is tea time. You have tea or coffee and cakes. So it's a whole experience for 3.5 hours. I think it's totally reasonable.
So my mother is having advanced age dementia, and this is where she kind of forgets where she currently is, and she retains a lot of memories from when she was younger, and she grew up on farms. And I had seen her this past summer, and one thing I was kind of deciding what would be fun to do with my mother. She can't really walk. She doesn't really remember all that much. One thing she really retains is her fondness for animals, especially big farm animals. And I ended up taking her to see goats and rabbits. One problem with that is that they're very low to the ground and you can't necessarily pick them up. This sounds like a great opportunity for older people that can't really get down low to the ground, but a cow is a big, tall animal, and I'm sure my mom would love to brush some cows and would have probably enjoyed something like this. It's something I'll keep in mind next time I see her in next year.
Yeah, good idea.
So let's go to our next paragraph here. This unusual shift reflects the rise of the so-called healing economy, a sector where animal-assisted experiences are marketed as emotional remedies for stress and burnout.
With AI now, it seems that we have just put a lot of energy and money and all kinds of things into solving technical problems, technology, knowledge. But as humans, we have a lot of emotional needs that are often not being met. Actually, AI is now being used for some of these. AI is not good for a lot of things. For example, it's not really accurate much of the time, so it's not the best for research. However, it's been used now for therapy. So if you tell AI your problems and you ask it to give you a different perspective, it often is very helpful to people who have emotional problems. So we're finding out that these are a huge need of humans, not just knowledge and technology, but we have emotional needs. And so now they are finding that animals are another way to get these needs met.
So the word remedy here is really interesting. And we can see in the middle we have M-E-D-I, like the word medicine. The R-E here is pronounced re, not re, as in like return, but it actually also still means back and again, just like in Latin. So you have these medicines that bring you back to your health, and that's a remedy, a treatment for a disease. We also have the word burnout here, which I think is an increasingly useful word.
Very common.
You have physical and mental tiredness caused by your stress and overwork, maybe even just regular work, but oftentimes when you're overworked, you start facing burnout, and that's when it's a good time to look for some remedies or perhaps take a vacation here. I actually speaking of my mother, and when I saw her this past summer, on the flight back, they asked me if I would be okay switching my seat because they had a person with an animal-assisted, what's the word they used? They had an animal to assist them with their anxiety.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I said, do you know what kind of animal it is?
It's an emotional support animal.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they said they didn't know which animal it was. And I was like, I'm going to roll this dice. I'm going to sit next to this animal. And the animal was just a white, fluffy dog. They're very common in Taiwan. But the person, I could tell, was under extreme stress on this flight. And I was happy to sit next to a dog for a few hours.
Yeah.
But I felt really bad for this person because they were under extreme stress. And the dog seemed completely oblivious to the stress.
That's why they're so nice, because they are not picking up on your stress. They're just being themselves.
And the dog sat very neatly on like a book bag. And it was like, wow, this, I've never really been this close to an emotional support animal before. But it was an interesting experience. And I hope that this person gets a lot of value out of it. Okay, with that, let's get on to our next sentence here. While dogs and cats remain the most common therapy animals, cows are gaining popularity for their calm nature.
I can totally agree with that. So my father's side of the family, they grew up on a farm, and many of them continued to be farmers. Many of them raised hogs and also cows. And I was just curious when I was kind of wandering around. I'd walk up to the fence, and they would come over with this very sweet look on their face. They were so curious. They seemed so kind and so gentle. They were just curious about this human coming over to have a look at them. And I asked my uncle, I said, what do you think is on their minds? What do you think they're thinking about? My uncle said, I don't think they're thinking about nothing.
Yeah. I think personally, I've thought about this a lot too. And I wonder if you're really close to these animals. I realize that people, kids do give them names. They do brush them and love them. And then they, quote, send them off for rendering, which means to turn them into hamburger. And that's got to be tough. So you need a little bit of emotional distance, I imagine.
That was right. The key, because I'm sure he had to do that because he was selling them off for meat. And I was there just as a visitor. And the thing is, it's not just cows, which are large animals. You're getting closer and closer to humans the larger the animal gets. It's with any animal. As I get older, and I found this with other people as we get older, first of all, you become very interested in birds.
Yes.
Every older person just gets really interested in birds. And I'm
no
birds. Exception. Yeah. As you get older, and then you find you feel a closeness to every living creature. You still don't like cockroaches, but with any kind of living creature, even spiders, especially lizards. I love lizards. We have geckos around the house sometimes. I look at them and you can see they're curious. They're looking back at me. One of them was stuck to a towel that I'd hung up. And I was kind of moving it around. I go, aren't you going to leave? No, just sat there looking at me.
I wonder if it's because your ego dies down as you get older and you become more comfortable not being the center of attention. And so all of these lives around you start to matter a little more.
I think that's part of it.
I agree. I'm not a fan of cockroaches, but at the same time, it's like, hey, listen, man, nothing personal. You can't stay here. And I'll take them outside. I won't kill them, but you're not welcome.
But when you look at these creatures, they will often look at you with that same curiosity. Frogs do it.
Yes.
They'll just sit there for a long time looking at you. And then I read a book that's called The Intelligence of Every Living Thing. You get the feeling that we all have the same soul and spirit inside. It's just packaged differently.
Yeah, I am not too far away from exactly what you said. I wonder if listeners listening to this, I wonder how close they agree with us. But yeah, I'm with you like 99% of the way on this. I really have no problem with all these creatures around me. In fact, I often feel very sympathetic for them, if anything. Cows themselves are herd animals, H-E-R-D animals, which means they like living close together, so they often enjoy being pet and cuddled and brushed. And I also read that because they are so big, their big, slow hearts sound really nice, and those big, soft bodies feel nice to lay on, almost like a weighted blanket. And so that also helps make them like good therapy animals, which I thought was interesting because it's like they are really cute. And I've seen a lot of really sweet videos of them being playful and rubbing things and brushing them, and just kids that grew up on farms saying how much they love cows. But yeah, it is interesting how this specific animal is really good at being a cuddler, because I wonder like how good a horse is at cuddling.
They're also good.
Oh, really?
I've seen so many animal
There's
videos these
so
days.
Many clumsy legs.
They're not clumsy. And so with all the stress that we're under with the news cycle, when you can't take any more of the news, I watch animal videos. Horses are wonderful cuddlers, and they've really got a big heart. And you will see that these animals are often very, very gentle with little children.
Yeah.
Dogs are, cats are. And also, they interact with other creatures like dogs. So seeing a horse or a cow interact with a dog is so cute.
It's adorable. I agree.
Let's go on to our last paragraph. At Dumble Farm, only cows that are genuinely comfortable with human contact are selected. So we've already mentioned, often these are retired cows. They no longer produce milk. It's not just cows, they also have goats. And so they're very mellow. They've been around a long time and they've been around humans. So they're fine with humans because the humans they've run into have all been kind to them.
Right.
It depends on the environment. In some places, if they have been treated badly, man, they're not going to let you close. But the people there have obviously been kind to them. And I found that with some wildlife, they're not afraid of humans because apparently they have not been hurt before. Like that gecko. It wasn't afraid.
Yeah, I think people that deny that individual animals don't have personalities is a bit silly to me because you can see the differences in even kind of, I guess, lower creatures. Like, yeah, this one is not as afraid as some other ones. Some creatures see you and they run away. But there are like neighborhood cats that I know of. We actually observe from our window that they're okay with people being around them. They'll be friends with them. There's a guy I know that wants to adopt a cat. He's a little on the younger side, and I'm guessing he still lives with his mother. He will sit out there and play with this cat with a string, but he's never taken him indoors. I'm guessing mom and dad said no. But there are just some animals that are a lot more comfortable with people than others.
That's right. Okay, our next sentence. According to the owners, the cows have been gently trained for these sessions and seem to enjoy the interaction. So they start out being kind of gentle and mellow anyway, and they get further training so they know what is expected of them, how to behave when people come to cuddle with them. To ensure the animal's well-being, all sessions are suspended during extreme heat, and that season is July and August. Like we said, with global warming, it's gotten very, very hot in England, and it's just too hot for these things to be fun for either the animals or the people. And it says that cows are gentle. They are, but I have an experience from when I was young. On my Uncle Bob's farm, there was a bull that was blind. Its eyes were pink, and it would walk around the pen and crash into the fence and start howling. It was so miserable. So people definitely had to stay away from that cow. It was so angry and unhappy.
I bet you very distinctly remember the first time you heard that.
And saw it.
Boy,
yeah, it was so sad. So you have to be careful. Don't assume all animals are going to be nice. These will be nice. They've been trained. We're going to move on to our second story now. Our title is Algae-Based Carbon Fiber May Revolutionize Aviation. All right, now that's kind of a heavy title. It's got a lot of information. Algae are these kind of slimy plants that grow in water. It's the plural of alga. A-L-G-A is the singular. Algae, you'll hear more often, the plural form more often. Base, that means algae are used to make something. What are they used to make? Carbon, and we know what that is. Carbon is that black stuff that you see when after something is burned. Fiber is like a thread. So this kind of fiber that's made from algae or based on it may revolutionize, may be a big change for, a good change. Aviation means airplanes and flying.
Algae is literally seaweed. It's just a kind of seaweed. So when we see this, these, generally speaking, algae are the little tiny ones that create big blooms all over the ocean. They're responsible for about 50% of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere, but it's just seaweed. In Latin, it literally means seaweed.
Okay, our first paragraph. German researchers have developed a method to produce carbon fiber from microalgae, offering a greener alternative to petroleum-based materials. Led by the Technical University of Munich, the Green Carbon Project uses algae that absorbs CO2 and store energy-rich oils. These oils are then chemically converted into acrylonitrile, a key precursor in carbon fiber production.
The resulting bio-based carbon fiber is strong enough for industrial use. In fact, Airbus has already used it to build parts for a research helicopter, which successfully completed a test flight in 2024. Scientists say this breakthrough could help reduce carbon emissions in aviation and beyond. The team is now seeking funding to scale up production and explore its use in other materials.
Back to the first paragraph, German researchers have developed a method to produce carbon fiber from microalgae, offering a greener alternative to petroleum-based materials. We have so many petroleum-based materials around us all the time, namely plastic and other things. And now we're finding they break down into microplastics and they enter the water system, they enter our bodies. So there are a lot of reasons to try to move away from petroleum-based materials. So this group of researchers in Germany, they developed a new way to produce carbon fiber, and they use actually sea plants, microalgae, very small ones. And they're much greener. That means that they cause less pollution and fewer problems for us humans, especially for our health. Led by the Technical University of Munich, the Green Carbon Project uses algae that absorb CO2 and store energy-rich oils. So now we know the name of the university, Technical University of Munich. Munich is in southern Germany. And the name of the project is Green Carbon Project. So green and carbon have no space between them. We do that a lot now with proper nouns. Leave no spaces, mainly because it makes it easier to make a URL address out of them for the internet. And so instead of using petroleum, they're using algae, these sea plants. They can absorb CO2 and also oils that contain a lot of energy. These oils are then chemically converted into acrylonitrile, a key precursor in carbon fiber production. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question. How many times do you think Chris and I practiced in order to say the word acrylonitrile? Acrylonitrile.
I literally practiced this word every single day this week.
I didn't practice as hard as Chris, so I've stumbled over it several times already. Acrylonitrile. Acrylonitrile. That is a really, really tough one, but it tells you what it is. So we've taken these oils and CO2 that we've collected from these materials made of algae and convert them into acrylonitrile, which is a precursor. That means it is sort of like a middle stage material used in making carbon fibers.
You know what acrylonitrile is if you've ever played with Lego toys, because those are also made from acrylonitrile.
Really?
Yes, and so it's one of those materials they use in their special plastic blend. It's strong, it's lightweight, and of course they change it a little bit for airplanes, but it's one of those plastics in Lego.
So it's more eco-friendly.
Hopefully, right? Because Lego makes a lot of plastic waste, and Lego actually tries really hard to be rather eco-friendly. They're trying hard. They know they have plastic bricks, but what if we could make them out of more earth-friendly materials like algae-based carbon fiber?
Okay. Keep in mind that Lego is based in Denmark. And also, don't walk across the floor if you have children who like to play with Lego.
Still, yes, very painful toys.
Okay.
All right, our final paragraph here. The resulting bio-based carbon fiber is strong enough for industrial use, meaning that companies can use this to make their important big things with safety in mind. In fact, Airbus has already used it to build parts for a research helicopter, which successfully completed a test flight in 2024. A research helicopter, it's like a regular helicopter, but it's trying to do new things, and they have to test it thoroughly to make sure it's safe. Scientists say this breakthrough could help reduce carbon emissions in aviation and beyond. So maybe it will help you create better flying devices and even more. The team is now seeking funding or looking for money to scale up production and make more and explore its use in other materials.
This is a really exciting development, good for the earth, I would say. And don't forget to practice saying acrylonitrile. Can you do it, Chris?
Acrylonitrile.
Acrylonitrile. It's a lot easier when Chris does it first. Make sure you tune in next time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.